So, Garchomp is now in the Pokemon Sword and Shield because of the Crowned Tundra, and he's one of my favorite Pokemon, and he's also a pseudo-legendary, so you know he has good stats. And he has 108 health with 95 defense and 85 special defense, which makes him pretty tanky. He has 130 attack and 102 speed, so he's fast, he hits hard, and he has some bulk behind him. And he has a decent special attack at 80, so you can throw in like a Draco Meteor or something like that if you want to just have, if you run against a straight physical tank. His abilities are Sandveil and Rough Skin, which, to be honest with you, Sandveil's not terrible if you're running a sand team, but other than that, it's not great. But you can make some use of it with Dynamax or something like that. Like if you bring him in on the last turn of an opponent's Dynamax after they used or if your opponent used a max Rockfall, I think, and it brings the Sandstorm and then you switch in Garchomp, you could make some use of that. Or if your ally uses it and then gets KO'd or whatever. Rough Skin is way better ability on him though, just because every time they hit you with a physical move, or a move that makes contact, they lose an eighth of their health guaranteed. Plus with your high attack stat, that could be the difference between them getting KO'd or not. And also it's really good against things that are physical attackers that are sashed, like Barraskewda and things like that. It pretty much takes them, it makes them get KO'd. They'll KO themselves guaranteed, especially if you outspeed them. But he's Dragon Ground, which is actually, it's a pretty good typing. You're only weak to Ice, Dragon, and Fairy, but the Ice is a 4x weakness. And you're immune to Electric, and you resist Poison, Rock, and Fire, and everything else is neutral. So it's pretty good overall. Like as long as you stay away really from Ice, because of Garchomp's bulk, he can survive the other super effective hits. As long as it's not Ice, he'll be fine. And Ice are a really powerful special Fairy move. But one thing that I really like using with Garchomp now, because of the ability, because of the move Scale Shot. As long as now that that's in the game, it raises his speed, and you don't really care about his defense that much because you're so bulky. You can survive a hit even with -1, as long as it's not super effective or a month. Like as long as it's not a really strong super effective hit. But the plan with this Garchomp is you come in, you Scale Shot it. Especially you bring it on something that's weaker, like something that's already taken damage. You come in, you Scale Shot. Either they switch or they get KO'd, and then you get a +1 speed and -1 defense, but it doesn't really matter. And your plan after that is just to outspeed and KO. Scale Shot, good damage. If it hits at least 3 times, you're good. That's 75, slightly less than Dragon Claw, but it's worth it for the +1 speed that first time at least. And if you get +2 or more, you pretty much outspeed everything. Earthquake's pretty much the best move in the game. 100 power, 100 accuracy, and stab. It's really good. Poison Jab. I like running either Poison Jab or Iron Head always on Garchomp because of fairies. Because you don't want them to switch in on a fairy type. Like that also could be a weakness with the Scale Shot if they switch in a fairy. But I like having some coverage against fairies because they are a big threat to Garchomp, especially if they resist ground. But you come in Poison Jab or Iron Head, whichever one you want. It's up to you. And I like having Rock Slide. He has really good coverage too. So like we could either run Rock Slide in this last spot, Crunch, Aqua Tail. Like he has really good coverage. Shadow Claw too. I wouldn't really run Shadow Claw. Crunch is pretty much a better Shadow Claw. But you have pretty good coverage with Garchomp. But I like Rock Slide in the last / Stone Edge. Depends if you want to play the accuracy game or not. I have Rock Slide here just because you are faster, so you could get that flinch, which could make a difference. And the 90 accuracy is really good. But between the 75 and the 100 could be the difference between a KO or not, especially if you don't get the flinch. But like I said, Rough Skin's really good too, just because like, oh, if you hit them and they barely survive and they hit you with a physical move, they KO themselves. Or a move that makes contact, they'll KO themselves, which is really good. But another way to run Garchomp is Swords Dance Scale Shot. Pretty much you get the +2, you take a hit, Rough Skin, whatever. Then you get the Scale Shot, you KO, and then you now have +2 attack and +1 speed with -1 defense, but whatever. You can also run White Herb if it means a lot to you, but I like the Citrus Berry just for the sustain. And then Earthquake, and then either Iron Head or Poison Jab for fairies. You could also Dynamax with this one too after you Swords Dance and get the +1. Because one good thing about Scale Shot, and I think pretty much all the DLC moves do this, or the moves that have lower base power but hit. They did it with some of them, but not all of them, which is kind of weird, I think. But it actually does 130 base power. Where is it? Scale Shot, 130 base power Dynamaxed, even though its base power is only 25, which makes it really good for a Dynamax set. But you want to pretty much Swords Dance, take a hit. Maybe Citrus Berry procs, maybe it doesn't. Scale Shot, KO them, and then Dynamax and just take everything out with your +1 speed. Dragon, Dynamax lowers their attack. This raises your special defense, and this raises your defense. That's why I like Iron Head better though on the Dynamax set. It doesn't make much of a difference, but at the same time, the poison actually, Iron Head's better than poison. If you're Dynamaxing, don't run poison jab because that actually gets capped off, like with fighting moves, because it raises your attacking stat, it gets capped off at 95. So Iron Head doesn't. So I would run Iron Head because it'll do more damage to Dynamax. Garchomp actually does not have access to fly, which is kind of weird because they love saying in his Pokédex how he can fly, but like he doesn't have access to fly, which is always weird. It's both fast and okay. It can fly through the skies as fast as Jetplane, but it can't learn fly. It doesn't learn any flying moves to boost its speed while Dynamaxed, which kind of isn't great. Actually, how much does Dual Chop do? Dual Chop also does 130. But another way is if you want to just run a straight Dynamax Garchomp, Outrage slash either Outrage slash. I mean, Dragon's weird because all of them do about the same damage Dynamax, but I think Outrage does 140. So if you want to Dynamax, like it's not that big of a difference. If you want to move that you can use outside of Dynamax, you can use one of these, Dragon Claw. I would not use Dragon Rush just because of the low accuracy. But you could run Scale Shot, Dual Chop, whatever you want if you want to have something out of Dynamax. But just for damage, Outrage, Earthquake, Stab, a lot of damage. Stone Edge is coverage, good coverage. And then Iron Tail for fairies. You could also run Iron Tail in this one if you're focused on Dynamaxing. But I like Iron Head just in case you don't Dynamax or you Dynamax another Pokemon. But Iron Tail just for more damage again. I wouldn't run the fairy or the poison one because it doesn't give you as much of a benefit. But pretty much max health, max speed, Dynamax. You're bulky enough to take a couple hits and KO, and you're fast enough that you'll outspeed a lot of things. So just go from there and just do a lot. Another way to run Garchomp is actually Choice Scarf. Max health, max attack, Choice Scarf. You could also take it out of health and put it in speed, but I like running a bulkier one as like a low, like as a bulkier one because you're not gonna outspeed everything, of course. But I like having me able to take a hit and two-shot anything, or something you wouldn't one-shot anyway, but you outspeed. You can two-shot them and not have to worry about getting KO'd. You can survive some super effective hits, especially with max bulk. But Dragon Claw. You could run Outrage in this since you're already stuck in a Scarf, but the problem with Outrage is you can't switch. So if they switch in a Fairy type, you're stuck at that point. Earthquake, good coverage again. Stone Edge slash Rock Slide. I like Rock Slide here too because of the chance to flinch, but Stone Edge is more damage. And then the Fairy Killer, either Iron Head or Poison Jab. Like he has good diversity though. If you want to switch it up with maybe get rid of Stone Edge, maybe for like an Aqua Tail or a Crunch, just for some different diversity. If you're not really worried about flying types or things like that. Also, Stone Edge is really good for like Charizard, for example, because he's immune to Earthquake, and he's immune to Earthquake, and he resists Iron Head. And Dragon Claw's neutral. Stone Edge would pretty much one-shot Charizard regardless. But another way you could do, like these are some of the moves you learned. You can run Band, Garchomp, max health, max speed. Probably want to run Jolly at that point, just Band and try to one-shot everything. But like I said, some of the moves he learns. Aqua Tail is really good. Brick Break's not great, but Dynamax you can get the +1 attack. Crunch is good. He also learns Draco Meteor again for that special, just throw it hit. Because the special attack isn't terrible, but it's a big difference between his attack. It's literally 100 difference between his attack and special attack at level 100. But some of the other moves, like he learns really good actual special coverage too if I go to it. Special. Like he learns Flamethrower, Scorching Sand now. He doesn't learn Earth Power, which is kind of weird, but Scorching Sand's decent move. It has a chance to burn. He learns Surf, which is really good. Dragon Pulse. Oh, he does learn Earth Power, okay. So I would run, if you're running a special one, I would run something along the lines of Dragon Pulse, Earth Power, Flamethrower, and Surf. Maybe Draco Meteor instead of Dragon Pulse if you just want that super powerful Dragon hit and then switch him out. But some of the other things, you could also run like a tankier Garchomp with something that's like max health, maybe max health, max attack, Adamant, and just rely on that rough skin damage with like a rocky helmet. So if you bring them in on a physical attacker and just have them, and literally if you hit them, they get KO'd on a move that makes contact because they're going to take so much damage from the rocky helmet and rough skin. Whatever you do, plus with your monster attack, whatever you do, you're going to KO them. So you can do things like that with Garchomp. But like I said, some of the other moves he learns, he has really good coverage. But Crunch, Dual Chop's also an option. Dual Chop slash Dragon Claw is always an option. Dragon Rush if you want to play that accuracy game. Dig, I would never use Dig, especially because he learns Earthquake. But he learns Sandstorm, Rock Slide. Also, you can in Dynamax too. For one of the Dynamax sets, if you want to run you can run Sandveil and pretty much get your own Sandveil up and get the free accuracy. But if you want just to get that set up, Shadow Claw, like I said, but Shadow Claw and Crunch pretty much do the same thing. And I like Crunch. Crunch does more damage, which is better. Stomping Tantrum. I don't think he really has anything to take use of Stomping Tantrum. If I remember, if that works how I think it does. I don't think he really can do much with Stomping Tantrum. Yeah, Power Double if Last Move fail. I don't think he can do much with that. Body Slam. Decent damage. Has a chance to paralyze if you want to play that game. Fire Blast. High damage special move. Yeah, so that's pretty much. I don't think he learned Stealth Rocks too if you want to do something like that. But I think there's better Stealth Rocks Pokemon than Garchomp, especially with such a monstrous attack. I think there's tankier ones. Thrash and Double Edge for Dynamax, or just for damage. But that's how to use Garchomp at Pokemon Sword and Shield.